Everyone, Mochismo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share the video if you found it helpful. Give it a thumbs up. Pass it on if you believe someone else would benefit from it. I would appreciate that. I want to talk about how God broke the curse of illusion. And why? Well, point blank period, God has come to a point, I believe, where enough is enough. See, when the internet age came full circle, I don't believe it was inspired by minds that had God's business on his mind. Essentially, what I'm saying is what man used for evil, God is using it for good. The internet is used in a big way for mind control, manipulation, financial gains, you name it, exploitations of all sorts. But there is some good in it as well, with the access to get this information that is much needed for people such as empaths, chosen ones. See, when you were in the church in its cultic, manipulative way, I don't know how it got that way. All I know is it has been this way since the beginning. Because I believe pride, ego, and things that set themselves up against God, this is what opens the door to pride, ego, and different things like that. The pride of life. And so they've used religion and all different sorts of other things to try to command the troops into submission. All the while you think you're being compliant towards God. And see, there's a spirit of God that he's given all of us. He's given you the ability to sense things that are not right. But in religious sectors of all kinds, you'll find people who get hurt, abused, and mistreated, and manipulated and duped that often won't even tell their stories once they've been manipulated and done wrong. Because the shame that accompanies that, and the ego that does not want to be seen as gullible, stupid, naive, it will go against what they've proclaimed. And this is why in the church, the very place that people who have no guidance tend to go for refuge, this is the very place in which Satan lies, and he does his work more so than any other avenue in life, I believe. Because your heart is open, it's fertile ground. It's fertile ground for them to plant seeds of deception like nobody's business. But God, when he opened a can of, with the internet wave, there are things that I myself am discovering, as well as a lot of other empaths awakened. You know, when I awakened, I thought I had found something that most of the world has no clue about. And I think that would be an accurate account of just awakening to narcissistic personality disorder. But now, coming into a point in a season in my life where I'm open to such thing as I'm discovering, such as individuation, challenging the shadow, the ego death, the humiliation ritual, all of these things that essentially, in a nutshell, not to make it super complicated, you're going within to break down everything that is within you, not in a bad way. You're breaking it down, disconnecting from it, because now you know that a lot of things you did was all an illusion. It was all an orchestration. It was all a character that you were in a performance. And now when you detach from these things and go in isolation, you realize you didn't need that much attention as though you thought you did. You were interconnected with other people by way of their manipulation upon you. You didn't need people as much as you thought you did. You didn't need to be needed. And that's a big one. The yearning to want to be needed. See, once you start integrating your shadow and you start looking at compassion in a way where you know now compassion does not enable. Compassion does not even overt, insistently suggest to give answers. Compassion listens. Compassion sits still. Compassion holds that space as you did before, but in a different way. You hold that space and allow that individual to do whatever it is they do, say whatever it is they say regarding their woes. You listen and you pay attention and you observe. Because if no other reason, you're there to allow them to release that weight that they're carrying. And sometimes that's all you're there to do. You're not there to band-aid. See, because of empath, our nature is helpers. Our nature is to assist. There's nothing wrong with that. But reckless compassion, God is not impressed with that. And he did not call you to be that way. And so my faith in God still remains, but I really wanted to go down that rabbit hole specifically for believers of all faith. Because if you're Catholic right now, someone is listening to me. You've been mistreated in a major, major way. They preyed on your whole empathic nature. We're not talking about just something that happens here or there where people just get caught up in their emotions and this and that. We're talking about a strategic, premeditated tactic that has been taken against you and had been taken against you when you look back for long periods of time. That is not something anyone takes kindly. You as a human being, that is something you don't take kindly. When you not only know you've been used, but you realize you've been used in a way, strategically, methodically. And so now going into the introspection, isolation, and all this type of things, you realize that you don't take it personal, first of all, and you also realize the level of humility that you're gaining from your individuation process. That level of humility extends towards the people who hurt you. They don't get passes. It's not about giving them passes, because what's in the past is in the past. But going forward, you are able to see with fresh new eyes, fresh new intuition, fresh new insight, and the Spirit of God meets you right there where you are. And it allows you to see these things in a vivid way. Even before they happen, sometimes you see them. So when you're going into the individuation process, you're realizing that there is something that is severely detached and broken and in need of disposal. The old appliance does not work for where you are now. So you upgrade. You pretty much dispose of everything you thought and perceived and believed in life. Short of believing that there is a God. And your followings in the religious, cultic settings, you begin to realize that's exactly what it was. Apart from God's sacred words, how he often speaks to you, if not through his manuscript, he speaks to you through an intimate, quiet place. He comforts your heart, your spirit, and your soul. This is why you know it's God, because no other thing in this world has the ability and the power to calm you like God. And on top of that, you're not able to even explain why this calm is so comforting and so secure. And it's confirmation because you find yourself not having to express it to other people. And a lot of us believers will do that. God will show you something and you'll run right along and you just have to tell somebody. Don't be caught out lacking like Joseph, okay? Be on your P's and Q's. Discretion is everything, to which I'm guilty of. We're free flowing. We just are always ready to just let it flow. Let it flow with discretion. Let it flow with a little bit of reservation. More observation, more reservation. And so I thought just waking up to narcissistic personality disorder was a big, huge deal. But there is nothing that I have discovered that is even close to being able to understand self like this individuation process. And I'm not here to tell you it's all, cookies and cream, if that's an adage you want to use, but it is a process of going through a lot of things that you want to hold on to in your head that you've believed in times past that were legitimate ways of life and approaching life. But you soon find out that these things that you held so near and dear, especially the persona, you find out quick you're not here for form or fashion. But once you kind of weave yourself past those little bumpy little roads and ruts of going through that detachment of these things you once held near and dear, boy, it's a joyous feeling. It's unnerving as well, because now you don't know what is on the horizon. It's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, it's also an uncertainty. But it's an uncertainty that you're willing to endure, because you know the things that you once knew or thought you knew and perceived, they are nothing like what you're discovering about yourself and the peace that accompanies that. And all you believers, I'm speaking specifically to you. Don't desert your faith in God. But there's coming a time, of course, that time has already arrived. There is no time to waste time with extending and overextending yourself to people that you believe is God's calling for you. Don't just get these whims of God wants me to do this, God wants me to do that. You have to sit still, be moved and led by God's Spirit. And when you're led by God's Spirit, it's undeniable. And I'm going to show you a way you know. When you are slighted and you've done wrong and you believed it was something that God led you to do, you don't have a plex about it. You're grieved for the person that did you bad, as opposed to going down that rabbit hole of, I can't believe, and telling all your Christian brothers and sisters in a snide way to say, okay, God gonna deal with it. That is low-key hostility. Just speak your truth. Say they did this or they did that, if you would dare utter that business. But for more than anything, just choose not to disclose certain things. Especially if you stuck your neck out there and believing that you were being led by God. Have a talk with yourself, have a sit down with yourself, and you'll come to a conclusion relatively quick that that thing didn't have a whole lot to do with God. You had a good intention, not a God intention. That being said, bless.